Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer McQueen. I'm a homeschool mom of three. Welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with me today about Assembly Bill 1316. Now, this bill was introduced by Long Beach Assembly member Patrick O'Donnell, and AB 1316, if passed, would devastate California charter schools. I am extremely excited to speak today with Windi Eklund, founder of Legislation Take Action, to try and just bring some awareness to the bill, kind of key you in on what you need to know about it and really what you can do to come join and fight it. So hi, Windi, how are you doing today?
Hi, Jennifer. Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me today. I know you have a super busy day today as you are preparing to make that trip all the way up north to the Capitol to help fight and oppose this bill at the Education Committee hearing tomorrow. So on that note, why don't you kind of give us a quick little intro to you and who you are?
Well, I am also a homeschool mom of three. My oldest is 17, my middle is 13, and my youngest is 8. We have been homeschooling. I believe this is our 12th or 13th year. I've kind of given up counting. And we started out in the charter school system, and then we now file a PSA, a private school affidavit. So we've been homeschooling a long time. And we've also tried a PSP, which is a private school satellite program. I got involved in following and opposing, I feel like only opposing legislation about 5 years ago when there was a bill brought forth in the Assembly Education Committee to have fire marshals come into homeschoolers' homes strictly based on the fact that they were homeschoolers for no other reason. No reports had to be filed. They were just going to come in and check us like they would a business. So we fought that. And that's how I got started then tracking legislation, because the very next year they started trying to legislate the heck out of our charter schools.
Absolutely. So you have had your finger on this pulse for a long time, and you have experienced quite a few different facets of homeschooling. So I'm really excited to have you here and to bring your perspective. So now, kind of before we dive into this bill and take a look at it, why don't you give us like a quick 30-second rundown on how exactly a bill like this is passed? What is the process?
Okay, so a bill like this, since it was brought forth by an assembly member, Patrick O'Donnell, it starts on the assembly side of the Capitol. And because it's an education bill, it has to start in the Assembly Education Committee, and they have to review it and approve it. Once it's approved by that committee, it then moves forward to the Appropriations Committee on the assembly side. And that is in the case of this bill, because this bill is going to have an impact on the California budget. So if a bill is going to have no impact on the California budget, it can skip appropriations. But this bill will hit that committee. After it hits that committee, it goes to the assembly floor, where all of the assembly members are then able to weigh in, speak about the bill if they have something to say, and to vote on it. If it passes those 3 areas on the assembly side, it jumps over to the Senate side of the Capitol, where it has to hit the same 2 committees on the Senate side, so the Senate Education Committee and the Senate Appropriations Committee. And then if those 2 committees approve it and it passes through, it hits the Senate floor, where the senators talk about it and vote on it. If anywhere along the line on the Senate side, the bill gets amended or language changed or added or taken away, it hops back over to the assembly side, to the floor of the assembly, to get voted on. Now, it's important to remember, Jennifer, that the only time that we can make public comment is while it's in the committees. So we do not make public comment. Oh, my cat. We do not make public comment while it's on either of the floors. So we only really have those 4 chances to make public comment on the bill. So did that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'm really glad that you gave us that sort of quick rundown, because I think it's really important for people to understand this process, understand where we can come in and where our opportunities are, and understand sort of how it can go very back and forth, and to really stick with it and be ready for the long haul.
Oh, and Absolutely. I forgot to say that after it passes those 2, it does have to go to the governor for signature.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much. So now that we kind of understand the basics of the process and how this is all going to work, clue us in on what families should really be aware of. What are the main points that are currently written in this bill that we need to know about?
So the main points I'm trying to focus on for this first round of us communicating with our legislators are simply that this is going to hurt our students in our schools. And the parts in the bill that I feel are most detrimental are that we currently, with a charter school, a non-classroom based charter school approval, it's approved by a blah blah. It's approved by a school district or a county office of education. And so if it's approved by, say, a school district in Los Angeles County, it can serve students in Los Angeles County and any county that touches Los Angeles. This bill is going to change that rule and say that if it's approved in Los Angeles, it can only serve students in Los Angeles. So that means that all of our schools are serving students in surrounding counties, and not all of those counties even have a non-classroom based charter school to serve students. So that's going to leave many students without any school that's working for them. And then the other part is that a lot of our authorizers are small districts, and this new law also has a provision that says that small districts won't be allowed to be authorizers anymore, and they have to be a district of so big. And then there's like a sliding scale as to if you're this big, you can approve one to have this much enrollment. It also has language talking about a 30% cut in funding for non-classroom based charter schools because they don't feel like non-classroom based charter schools have the overhead to educate the students that a district school has. And I don't know if any of you remember or were aware of SB 98 that passed at the beginning of the year, and that already cut funding for us. Our schools didn't even get funded for new students this past year, so our schools are already operating at a loss.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad that you brought that up, the past one that just happened at the beginning of this year, because it really brings home just how often you are taking the stand for the homeschool families, and, you know, how much you are in the know and really out there, you know, fighting for what we need to educate our kids. So it is always much appreciated. Now that we kind of have these main points and people sort of have just a quick glimpse into kind of understanding the verbiage a little more and what to look for and what to be aware of, I know one big concern that I have heard from quite a few families is, how is this bill potentially going to have an effect on our learners with exceptional needs and with IEPs?
Well, if there's no longer a school that can serve them at all, they're not going to have a school. And I think it's also important to note that legislators believe that our schools do not serve students with IEPs. So if you happen to be having the nerve to call your legislator or call the Assembly Education Committee and your child has an IEP, please make sure you share that with them. Let them know that your student has an IEP, and let them know all the wonderful services your student is receiving and the progress. I talked to a mom yesterday whose child has made 2 years progress this school year because of the services being provided by a school. So this is definitely going to impact their ability, the ability of families to find a school. And also, if you're talking about cutting a budget by that much, a lot of those services end up coming out of the general ed funds because the special ed funds are already less. So where's that money going to come from to serve our students if they're cutting the budget so drastically?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad that you brought up the point that, you know, there's a lot of misconception that our schools are not accepting students with IEPs. And that brings up, you know, a whole nother point that I just want to touch on real quick. When I heard you speak, you brought up a good point that there are sort of a lot of quote unquote myths being tossed around at the Capitol about charter school families and what we do and don't do, and the hiring of, that we don't hire credentialed teachers or background check, things of this nature that quite frankly are just flat out lies and complete myths. So, I'm really, again, I'm glad that you're giving a voice to, to families such as my own, and bringing the reality of, what's really going on in our charter schools. So thank you for that. So now that we have sort of given a rundown of this bill, let's talk about who exactly should get involved. We all know that the homeschool community, consists of a wide variety of families,
Yes.
people with a PSA, charter school families, all sorts of different walks. How should we collaborate? Who should collaborate? And who really should get involved with this?
Well, I feel like anyone who loves children should get involved with this, and anyone that values education, because this is really going to take away school choice in California. And without school choice, who do our districts have to compete with to make themselves better? I mean, are they just going to keep making themselves better because it's their obligation? Or do they try to make themselves better because there is competition out there? So if this bill passes, we're going to be reduced to basically district schools and private schools, because our poor charter schools are going to have a really tough time trying to survive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, really everybody needs to collaborate. Everybody needs to work together. Absolutely. And, is that not the way it should always be anyways?
And for sure, if you have, your parents and they support you in your homeschooling and they're willing to call aunts, uncles, friends, neighbors, anyone that you can get, because we have to overwhelm their phone lines with our calls saying that people are opposed to this bill.
Absolutely. And that is actually a perfect segue, because now we need to know, Windi, what is next for us? What can we do? What are the next steps? Give us some guidance on how we can come together and make this happen.
So I've written out step-by-step directions on the things that we need to do. So if you go to Legislation Take Action has a website on Homeschool Concierge. And if you go there, you will see 3 blog posts. There might be 4 now. I might have started the one about calling in, but we need to start with submitting our letters. And there's 2 different portals to submit your letter to through the assembly. One is to the bill's author, and that is through, the bill has its own webpage and it says comments to author. And there are step-by-step instructions in there on how to do that. And then the other one is to submit a letter to the Assembly Education Committee. And there is a portal on their website where you can do that. And again, I've provided instructions. Then if you have time, you can call or email all of the Assembly Education Committee members. And there's instructions on how to do that. You can also, if you don't have time to make phone calls or send letters, you can just make a post on social media and tag the assembly member on that. And then the next step is to call your own assembly member for your district and let them know that you are a parent of a student in California and that AB 1316 is going to hurt your student and your school. You don't really have to give a lot of information. You don't have to be the one to argue the points. Right now, we really just need to overwhelm them and let them know that people are upset by this bill and we don't want it to pass. So it could literally be a super quick phone call. And you don't actually have to talk to your legislator. You can talk to whoever answers the phone. Those people that work in their office, that's their communication with their constituents. And so they report back and tell them what people are calling about. They tally how many people have called about the bill. And you can also use, if you're uncomfortable calling, you can use a form on your legislator's website. And I put links to how you find all of this information in there. And my phone number is also in the shared Google Drive. If anyone feels uneasy about doing it, needs a pep talk, wants me to walk them through it over Zoom, how to use all the portals. You have to create a different username and login for each portal. So it is complicated, but I am totally willing to help anyone that needs help. And I do keep getting people asking me why we are not using one of those apps that makes it really easy for you just to send a text message or post on social media or send an email. And from my experience, I find that our legislators react better to our actually making contact with them, because then they have this person that lives within their district who cares. Because most legislators aren't getting a million calls a day. So definitely making that personal contact with each of these people is what's going to make a difference, not just using a form that they know was easy. And then the other problem with those forms is that there's no special story in there about why your child is thriving in a charter school. So the more information you can give about your personal experience, if you're comfortable, that helps too. It helps put a face and a name and a story to what this bill's going to do.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I'm really glad that you shared all these resources. I just really want to reiterate to everybody, we have the website up here at the bottom of your screen. Please, please, please go visit this website. You will find all the information, everything she just said. If you're sitting at home right now thinking like, wait, rewind. I need to get all this down. Don't even worry. Get that website. Go to the website. It has all the information. Like Windi said, it has the templates for letters. It has help for how to call, what to say. I just checked it out last night, and it walks you step by step of what you can even do on Wednesday to get on that phone and be heard. So visit that website. All of Windi's contact information is on there. She's very open to being contacted and to talking to you, because really it's all about collaboration and pulling people together and being heard.
Yes. And sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just often hear people say after the fact, like, oh, I didn't want to bother you. I knew how busy you were. And so I didn't know what to do. No, I am never too busy to help homeschooling parents. Like, that is what I live for. So please don't feel like, oh, I can't bother her. That's what I'm here for. Oh, also, and if you prefer social media, you can follow at Legislation Take Action on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is new, so there's very few posts on there, but Facebook's been around a while.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, go ahead and follow her. If you can give that just maybe one more time.
Yeah, it's just at Legislation Take Action on both Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, wonderful. Very good. Okay, super. Thank you so much for sharing that. Go ahead, follow Windi, find her on social media, check out this website. Contact her if you need help. If you need a little push in that right direction, she is there for you.
Yes.
Okay, so now one last thing, and then I'm going to let you go and get ready for your trek up to that Capitol to fight for us.
Yes.
I have heard you talk about that instance 5 years ago when you went with a group and you actually physically went up to the Capitol like you are planning to go today for tomorrow's hearing. And a few of the things that you said and just the story that you told about it really, really stuck with me. And you just really painted a picture that I really would like you to share. So if you could just, if you wouldn't mind, if you would just kind of share that experience with us.
Yeah. So about 5 years ago, I mentioned they were trying to pass a bill that was going to allow the fire marshals to come into our homes for no reason except for the fact that we homeschool. And so the homeschool community got very upset by this because that's very much an invasion of our privacy. And so we showed up en masse to the Capitol. There was about 3,000 of us that showed up, and we lined up. We were very respectful. That's another thing. Always be respectful, because they're more willing to listen to you and talk to you if you're being nice to them. So we showed up. We were very respectful, got in line. They let us go through one at a time. When you're making public comment, all you can say is, "Hi, I'm Windi Eklund from Placentia, California, and I oppose AB 1316. So we did that all day long, and they had to stand there and listen to us all day long. All these families, children, everybody was coming through. And at the end of that, late in the evening, none of the assembly members had the nerve to make a motion to even vote on the bill. They wouldn't even vote on the bill. And it was funny because at that time, like, none of us in my group knew what it meant to make a motion or what was going on. Like, oh, does that mean they're going to vote on it tomorrow? Like, did we just wear them out? Or are they going to pass it while we're not here? And so we were like kind of mad. And then someone at the Capitol said, no, that means that it's dead in committee. It's not going anywhere else. And we were like, wow, we did it. So I have faith that if enough of us are opposing this bill and we are showing our voices and making them scared that they might not get reelected next year because there's so many people upset by this bill, that is our chance at killing this.
Absolutely. So biggest takeaway, everybody, get involved, be heard. And I'm going to put it up for you one more time in case you missed it. Visit that website, follow Windi on social media, contact her, contact me. Let's get together and make this happen. Thank you so much, Windi, for your time. Best of luck. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.